Welcome to Afsan Farm Kitchen, where our cozy farm kitchen brings you healthy, delicious, and globally inspired recipes. With a love for Middle Eastern and Mediterranean cuisines, vibrant flavors, and nutritional goodness, we make it simple to enjoy wholesome, flavorful meals at home.
Spices, the silent architects of empires. But what if these flavor-packed powders in your kitchen cabinet are actually time machines connecting you to thousands of years of culinary tradition?
That's an intriguing way to look at it. How did you come to that realization?
Well, it hit me last night while I was cooking dinner. I reached for my pepper mill, like I've done countless times before, and suddenly had this moment where I thought, this simple act connects me to an epic trading story that spans millennia.
That's fascinating. You know, it's easy to forget that these spices we use so casually today were once worth their weight in gold.
Exactly. The scale of the spice trade is almost impossible to imagine. These ancient maritime routes stretch from Japan to Europe, with sailors risking their lives on years-long voyages just to bring back these precious seasonings.
Speaking of seasoning, I recently read about an interesting update to the Mediterranean diet pyramid. Do you know about this?
I'm not sure. What kind of update are we talking about?
Well, in 2008, a scientific committee specifically added herbs and spices as an essential component of the Mediterranean diet. And get this, it wasn't just for health reasons.
Oh, really? What was their reasoning then?
So, they recognized that herbs and spices are what give Mediterranean dishes their regional identity. The same basic ingredients can become Greek, Turkish, or Italian depending on the seasoning combination. It's like a culinary fingerprint.
That's actually really profound when you think about it. These tiny leaves and seeds aren't just flavoring, they're carrying cultural identity. You know, it reminds me of how complex some of these spice blends can be. Take Ras El Hanout, for example.
That's the Moroccan blend, right?
Exactly. The name literally means head of the shop in Arabic, because spice merchants would use their absolute best spices to create it. Some versions can have up to 100 different ingredients. It's like the ultimate expression of a spice merchant's art.
That's incredible. You know, all this talk about herbs and spices makes me wonder, do most people even know the difference between the two?
That's a good point. The distinction is actually quite straightforward. Herbs come from the leaves of plants, while spices are derived from roots, bark, and seeds. But what's fascinating is how they work together in traditional Mediterranean cooking to create these incredible flavor profiles.
Let's dive into some specific herbs. I've always been intrigued by basil. It seems to be everywhere in Mediterranean cuisine.
Oh man, basil is such an interesting one. It's actually part of the mint family, which surprises a lot of people. While most folks immediately think of Italian pesto, it's used throughout the Mediterranean in countless ways.
And speaking of the mint family, let me tell you about oregano. There's this fascinating confusion between Mediterranean and Mexican oregano.
Wait, what? I thought oregano was just oregano.
That's what most people think. But here's the thing. Mediterranean oregano and Mexican oregano are completely different plants. Mediterranean oregano is part of the mint family, while Mexican oregano belongs to the verbena family and has a notably stronger flavor.
Wow, I had no idea. You know, all this talk about herbs is reminding me of how mint itself has such an interesting story in Mediterranean cooking.
Oh yeah, mint is fascinating. It's used in everything from savory dishes to desserts, but gardeners have to be incredibly careful with it because it spreads so aggressively. It's like the plant version of a party guest that never wants to leave.
So, we've talked about individual herbs, but what about these amazing spice blends that have developed over centuries?
Now we're getting into the real magic. Take Baharat, for instance. It's a fundamental spice mixture in Eastern Mediterranean cooking that includes black pepper, coriander, cumin, cinnamon, cloves, cardamom, and paprika.
That sounds similar to how za'atar varies from place to place, right?
Exactly right. Za'atar always has that base of sesame seeds, sumac, and dried herbs, but the proportions and additional ingredients can change depending on the region.
You know, I've been hearing a lot about the health benefits of these traditional spices. Is there any science behind that?
Oh man, that's one of the most exciting developments in recent years. Researchers are discovering that these spices don't just add flavor. They're finding evidence for anti-inflammatory properties, pain reduction capabilities, blood sugar control, and even cognitive benefits.
So, in a way, we're scientifically validating what generations of Mediterranean cooks have known through experience and tradition?
Exactly. And what's really remarkable is how these spices that once inspired epic voyages and shaped empires are now available to everyone. That pepper mill sitting on your kitchen counter contains spices that people once literally fought wars over.
The democratization of spices is pretty amazing when you think about it. These flavors that were once worth their weight in gold are now in everyone's spice rack.
And here's what I find most fascinating. These herbs and spices aren't just seasonings, they're living connections to human history. Every time we use them, we're participating in traditions that stretch back thousands of years.
That really puts our everyday cooking in a whole new perspective, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And maybe that's the most important takeaway. That something as simple as herbs and spices can connect us not just to different cultures around the Mediterranean, but to the entire sweep of human civilization.
Well, that's certainly food for thought. Any final words as we wrap up?
Yeah, I think the big takeaway here is to approach your spice rack with a sense of wonder and history. Next time you're cooking, take a moment to appreciate the journey those little flavor jars have taken. And don't be afraid to experiment. You're not just seasoning your food, you're participating in a culinary tradition that's as old as civilization itself.
And that's our show for today. From all of us here at Gen FM, keep exploring, keep cooking, and keep connecting with the amazing stories hiding in your spice rack. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to Afsan Farm Kitchen, where our cozy farm kitchen brings you healthy, delicious, and globally inspired recipes. With a love for Middle Eastern and Mediterranean cuisines, vibrant flavors, and nutritional goodness, we make it simple to enjoy wholesome, flavorful meals at home. Whether you're recreating comforting classics or trying something new, our recipes are perfect for every season. Let's share the joy of good food, health, and togetherness. From our kitchen to yours. The traditional cuisines of the nations bordering the Mediterranean Sea served as the inspiration for the Mediterranean diet.